Shalom, shalom, shalom. This is your brother Kadar of GMS Gulf Coast. I'd like to start by giving all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rekah, Quadash. Double honors are given up to the apostle elders of Great Millstone, men who have labored and suffered in this truth for over 30 plus years, making their lives and their bodies a living sacrifice. I also like to send a shalom to the hopeful elect, the one-third of the nation of Israel, the speckled birds scattered throughout the four winds of planet Earth, north, south, east, and west, which consist of men, women, and children in that order. I also like to send a shalom to the various GMS camps, elders, and heads. And last but not least, I'd like to send a shalom to any of you Akim not named GMS, but walking one spirit, one body, Yahweh Shai, speaking and teaching this 100% truth as it is taught to us all. To you all, shalom. Abaratazah, Lord willing to be edified, informative. And with that, we're going to go into it. We're going to find out who the Etruscans were, according to Esau's Wikipedia and Google search and whatnot. We're going to trace them back to one of the three sons of Noah and find out who the original European were. Because that's certain. Unless you've been living under a rock, there's certain prophecies starting to be that have been put in place are playing themselves out as we speak, and that's going into this third world's war between the Russians and NATO. We'll just throw Ukraine in there as a caveat, but it's basically the West against Russia against the West. But I'm bringing this out to verify a point being made in Ezekiel 38, and I think it's chapter 2, Gog and Magog. So having said that, we're going to read a few things and see if we can trace this back to one of the sons of Noah. So having said it, let's do it. Etruscans, it says right here, what color, right here, what color was the Etruscans? And it reads, add to that the fact the many, let me read it again, add to that the fact the many of the images show the dark-skinned people in position of power, and we have a boundary of evidence that the Etruscans were in fact black. They were dark-skinned people. Now, if you go back to Noah and his three sons, Ham being the progenitor of the so-called Africans, and Shem being the progenitor of the Shemitic people, which make up so-called blacks, Latinos, Natives, Seminole-Americans, Indians, so-called white man, Chinese, Japanese, Arabs, East Indians, and then you have the Japhetic sons of Japhet, and that's who we're going into right now. And reference to the Etruscans, because these are proverbs and bywords given to the sons of Japhet, because they were ultimately conquered and pushed out of that land of what we call Europe today, Greece, Italy, Slovakia. A little under the weather, so just bear with me. I want to say the truth. What are the Etruscan mysteries? It says, why are the Etruscans mysterious? Let's see. Here's an image of him. Now, today, Etruscans are sons of Japhet. You can trace them back to the Hawaiians, Fiji Island, a lot of the islanders, you know, I think the Philippines and whatnot, the Filipinos. Not if I'm not mistaken, but we're finna do a run back, see if we can run them now and see who they are. Because, like I said, they were pushed out of that land. They were not. The so-called white man is not the original Greek, even though it speaks of that in, I think, First Maccabees. It says about Alexander being the first one to rule in his steed, the first one in his race, of his race to rule over Greece. So they start calling themselves Greeks, but they're not the original Greeks, mind you. It said the Etruscan features were very distinctive. Their their straight noses, and almond-shaped eyes distinguished them from the other people living in Italy at the time. Their language and script was almost markedly different. As a result, their origins have long been debated. Of course, because you have someone who moved in and has usurped their culture for themselves and given them names. So yes, it's going to be a debate about who they are and their culture and things of that sort. That's always going to be. What tribe founded Rome? Let's go real quick. What tribe founded Rome? It says the Latin, known as the Latins, were an Italian tribe which included the early inhabitants of the city of Rome. See, Rome people. Let's see. Let's see. It says more results. It says are Romans and Etruscans the same? It says the main difference between Etruscans and Romans is that Etruscans are the people that come from the Etruscan part of Italian peninsula, and their culture was known for its rich mineral resource, whereas Romans are the people that are originated from the time city in Italy's modern day and well known for. Here we go, see. Freestanding sculptures, architecture. Let's see. We're just gonna click on a few sites. You see, they have a similarity to the Hawaiians. A similarity to the Hawaiians says the Etruscan civilization flourished in central Italy between the 8th and 3rd century BCE. The culture was renowned in antiquity for its rich mineral. And mind you, now this it's not giving us true insight. It's giving you bits and pieces because the people who wrote this are the people who took over their culture. So they're gonna. You have to peel back the layers, just like an onion. Mediterranean power, much of its culture and even history was earlier obliterated as assimilated into that of its conqueror, Rome. See? Let's read that again. Let's start from the top. It says the Etruscans, These people right here who resemble what the Hawaiians, the island, the people of the islands. When you go into Guam and the Fiji, the Filipinos and the Hawaiians and whatnot, these are those people. These are Japhetic people, and Lord willing, we're gonna prove that. It says the Etruscan civilization flourished in central Italy between the 8th and 3rd century BCE. The culture was renowned in antiquity for its rich mineral resources and as a major Mediterranean trading power. Much of its culture and even history was either obliterated or assimilated, obliterated or assimilated into that of its conqueror, Rome. And there you go. And we know, for the most part, the Romans, and we know today, are Edomites. Nevertheless, surviving Etruscan tombs, their contents, and their wall paintings, as well as the Roman adoption of certain Etruscan clothing. See, real quick. Let's go real quick. This is let me show you something real quick. Let's go. Hold up. Let's see. No, that's not it. Let's see. This is Michael chapter 2, and we'll start at verse 1, and it reads, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. They covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage." So, these are the people who, like it says right in verse 2, and they covered fields, whole lands, and take them by violence. They were conquered by Rome, and houses, and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage, and take their heritage for themselves, and give you bywords and proverbs for names. Real quick, hold on just a second. It's like, gotta blow my nose. So like you had to hear that. Changing his brother and everything else. But yeah. Now let's go back to that marker we had. Let's see. Let's go back. Pull this back up. And it reads, it says, much of its culture and even history was earlier obliterated or assimilated. Now, real quick, let's go into that word, assimilate. Google me unavailable. What the hell? Okay, get out the way.
Here's the definition of assimilate. Take in information. Here's the definition of assimilate. Take in information, ideas, or culture, and understand fully.
Take in information, ideas, or culture. Or culture. Cause something to resemble, liken, philosophically had assimilated thoughts of. Let's see. Real quick, it says to take into mind and thoroughly understand, assimilate information. Students to take in and utilize as nourishment, to absorb into the system, to absorb into the culture, tradition of a population or group. So what they done, the way the Romans and whatnot were dressing at that time, and whatnot, that probably come from the Japhetic people or the Etruscans that was in that land at that particular time. You know what I'm talking about? To absorb culture, tradition of a population or group. Huh? The belief that tolerant hosts would be able to assimilate immigrants of whatever creed or color to make similar. Okay, see, we go back. Let's see. Oh man, I lost my what's your name? Ain't that something? Let's go back real quick. Let's see if we can pick back up where we were. Let's see. Let's see if we can pick back up. Bible sure. Etruscan Civilization. Okay, we're right back. Now it says right here, much of its culture and even history was earlier obliterated or assimilated, being taken into, made like it onto their own, taken over, into that of its conqueror, Rome. Nevertheless, surviving Etruscan tombs, their content, and their wall paintings, as well as the Roman adoption of certain Etruscan clothing. So what we seen the Romans back in ancient days wear and whatnot, they got that from the Etruscans, the people that they drove out of that land. And those people that drove the original Japhetic sons out of that land back then are still in those lands today. So when we read scriptures like Ezekiel 38, verse 2 and whatnot, that's speaking about a foreign people that's in the land, because you're speaking of the land itself. So, those people today that are in that land will be in reference to the land or a reference to the culture that preceded them. Because, see, the Lord is dealing with the ancient names. He's dealing with the ancient names. So, so when you go into the table of contents, I believe in the book of Genesis, chapter 10, you read about the sons of Japhet. Gog, Magog, Tubal, and those lands are still called by those names, even though they're being occupied by different people. And then, nevertheless, surviving Etruscan tombs, their content, and their wall paintings, as well as the Roman adoption of certain Etruscan clothing, religion practices, and architectural are convincing testament to the great prosperity and significant contribution to Mediterranean culture achieved by Italy's first great civilization. Italy's great. So the true Italians were Japhetic people. They're not the people that you see over there today, so-called white folks. It's not them. Valesian, Valeno, Vanilla, Vanova, Vanovan culture. The Vanovan culture developed during the Iron Age in central Italy from around 1100 BCE. The name is actually misleading as the culture is, in fact, the Etruscan in their earlier form. See, all these different names? Talk about the same people. It says there is no evidence of migration or warfare to suggest the two people were different. See? This is just further proof of let's take me a drink there. There's no proof that any war took place between the so-called Venolan culture and the Etruscans. They're the same people. It's just the people who took over, through the layers of lies you had to peel through them. Basically. Let's see, let's keep going. It said the Venolan culture benefit from a great exploitation of the area's natural resources, which allow villages to form. Houses were typically circular and made of water and the bulb walls and that roofs with wooden and I can't pronounce that decoration added. Pottery models survived, which were used to store the ashes of the deceased with the guarantee of regular, well-managed crops. A portion of the community was able to devote itself to manufacturing and trade. The importance of horses is seen in the many finds of bronze horse bits in the large Venolan cemeteries located just outside the settlements. By around 7500 BC, or 7500 BC, the Venolan culture had become the Etruscan culture proper. And many of Venolan's sites would continue to develop as major Etruscan cities. The Etruscans were now ready to establish themselves as one of the most successful population groups in the ancient Mediterranean. Okay, let's see. World History Encyclopedia. It's like it for all this discussing waterworks. All right. Where did it originate from? Let's see something real quick. Where reported. The origin and legacy of the Etruscan. Let's see something here. Trying to just bear with me, Baba Shaw. So a 2,000-year archaeologist was time. Legacy. Was known between dramatic time transit individuals. we detect a component of Indo-European as associates, related. Right, etc. This and this. During the Iron Age, we detect a component of Indo-European as associated stepped ancestry and the lack of recent and colonial related admixture among the paterative non-Indo-European speaking Etruscans despite comprising diverse individuals of Central European, Northern Africa, and Near Eastern ancestry. The local genome pool is largely maintained across the first millennia BCE. This drastically changes during the Roman imperial period, where we report an abrupt population-wide shift to 50% admixture with Eastern Mediterranean ancestry. Last identified Northern European components appearing in central Italy during the early Middle Ages, which thus formed the genetic landscape of present-day Italian population. So when the Romans came in, that's when the admixture started coming in. More proof that it was the people in that land before the people that we call, when we go back to the book of matter of fact, let me grab it. We go. I got it right here. Yeah, I'm looking right at it. Ain't that so? Let's go to the book of real quick. First Maccabees. Let's turn the light on so I can see. All right. Dealing with I guess you call it sinuses, I guess. I can still smell and all that other good stuff. This is First Maccabees. Let me get it together. Hold on, let me get it together. The first book of the Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 1, and it reads, "And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persia and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece." In his stead, the first over Greece. Now let's look at that word stead real quick. Let's go search. And we're going to Google search the word steed and see what that word means. S T E A N D. Okay, yeah. STEAD.
Stead.
Stead. A place or role that someone or something should have or filled. Huh? A place or role that someone or something have or filled, used in referencing to a substitute. So there was the so-called first white man to rule over Greece, and his steed, substitute. Let's see. Steve, place, role of someone or something should have filled using reference to a substitute phrase. Let's see. Origin. Oh, it says place or dramatic origin related to Dutch stances, European, from Indo-European root shared by the verb stand. The first one to stand he's the first over Greece. He was the first over Greece. He reigned in his stead, the first over Greece. So this is the first time you got a so-called white man. So the original Greeks were not what you see today. They're not who you see today. Let's go back out of here. So they're not who you see that today. They're not the so-called white folks that you see the other day. Let's see. We don't want to make this too long. Let's see. Matter of fact, let's go to Genesis real quick. Let's go to Genesis. Okay, move out the way. Move out the way. Genesis 10. This is Genesis chapter 10 and verse 1, and it reads, Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Medah, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshach, and Traverse. It says, and the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz. Now let's look this up real quick. I think it's Ashkenaz. Let's see. Here we go.
Strong's H 813. Ashkenaz.
That's how you pronounce that. Ashkenaz. Let's get it again.
Strong's H 813. Ashkenaz.
Okay. Proper, let's see, origin, root word, etymology of foreign origin. It says outline of biblical usage, Ashkenaz, a man as sprinkled, fire as scattered. Ashkenaz, scattered, sprinkled, huh? It says a descendant of Japheth, a northern people, perhaps of Bithynia, are northern people. The northern people. Ashkenaz, a Japhite, also his descendant, Ashkenaz. So even, when you hear about the Ashkenazi Jews, that's a robbed name. They're not Japhetic people. And you've heard certain Israelite groups try to say that the so-called white man is Japhetic, because he occupies the land that Japheth occupied, but was ran up out of there. So pursuant to Michael 2:2, he take over the fields and call him after himself. Take over a man, oppress a man, his house, and even his heritage. He become him. And then, in retrospect, he takes and assigns you a name which hides him. That's what that is, hiding himself. Yep, they northern people yep. They northern people, Jeremiah 51 and 27, First Chronicles 1 and 6, Genesis 10 and 3. Perhaps people of Bayana, Ashkenazi, and Indian, Northern Asia. Northern Asia. Let's see real quick. Let's see, Ashkenaz. A name of a region and a nation in Northern Asia. And when you look at Russia, Russia is north of Asia. The land of Russia is connected eastward of Asia, Northern Asia. So those Russians, those are not the true people of that land. That's similar to the so-called Jews that are in the land of Israel now, the Israelis. When you get into those people, those are two different people that took on two sects. One took on what they call Judaism, and one of them took on Islam. That's the only separation of folks. Their religious beliefs. They're the same people, basically. The same people. But I'm talking about those so-called Russians and those so-called Israelis that are in the land of Israel now. That's a popular MMA wrestler champion. His name is Khabib. He's of the same stock nationality as those people in Israel now. But he practiced Islam. That's the only thing. That's the only difference. It says sprung from the Cumulanians to be sought for near, unless this were previous of that country. A similar form is the modern, look at that, the modern Jews understand is to be Germany, and call that country by this Hebrew name, which is only to be attributed to their wonderful ignorance of geography. Jews understand to be Germany. Now let's real quick. Let's go to Ezekiel. I think it is Ezekiel 38. This is Ezekiel chapter 38, and starting at the top, and it says, "And the word of the Lord Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog." Son of man. Who is the son of man? Yahweh, in the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh power, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and will bring thee forth, and all thy army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords, with all sorts of clothing and whatnot. The Persians, Ethiopians, Libya with them, and all men with shields and helmets. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmoth of the north quarter, and all his bands, and many people with thee. It says, Be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. Now, this right here in particular, verse 4, it says, And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaw, and will bring thee forth, and all thy army, horses and horsemen, and all them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all them handling swords. Let us go to this clip that I had here earlier. Let's see, real quick. Let's see. Is this it right here, Putin? Yes, right here.
My mother-in-law became my mom. 2004, I married Roland Antoine Jr.
Short time ago admitted, and let's get to it because NATO just officially a short time ago admitted, and it finally came out and admitted that the Nord Stream pipelines were sabotaged. Hello. Like, we didn't know this, but we now have NATO officially declaring that they were, in fact, sabotaged by a state actor. This is not some random guy on a moped or a jet ski out there or a dolphin. No, this is state sabotage, a government responsible for this. Germany says it's on the edge of an energy abyss, so get ready for blackouts across Europe. More on that in a minute. We'll cover more of that story in a minute because we have a lot of news to get to. First on the major part of the Ukraine war and an update this afternoon on that. So first on the referenda, tomorrow everything changes in Ukraine. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. Moscow time, the Kremlin will host the signing ceremony, officially welcoming the 4 Donbas regions into the Russian Federation. They will officially become Russian. They will officially become part of Mother Russia. This is a major turning point in world history and an expansion, of course, of the Russian Federation. The New York Times, by the way, didn't waste any time missing a beat on this and continues to parrot the Biden administration's labeling of these referendums as shams. Take a look at your screen. Breaking news. Vladimir Putin will sign agreements on Friday to take over 4 Ukrainian regions, the Kremlin said, after votes widely denounced as a sham. A sham by who, by the way? The Western media? Like, who's saying these are shams?
I don't know, and I really don't like that word. It's not very strong.
You heard that? Welcome them back. Let's see. Let's just talk one more time, real quick. Oh, sure.
This is state sabotage, a government responsible for this. Germany says it's on the edge of an energy abyss, so get ready for blackouts across Europe. More on that in a minute. We'll cover more of that story in a minute because we have a lot of news to get to. First on the major part of the Ukraine war and an update this afternoon on that. So first on the referenda, tomorrow everything changes in Ukraine. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. Moscow time, the Kremlin will host the signing ceremony, officially welcoming the 4 Donbas regions into the Russian Federation. They will officially become Russian. They will officially become part of Mother Russia. This is a major turning point in world history and an expansion, of course, of the Russian Federation. The New York
will officially be brought into Mother Russia. The New York Times says breaking news: Vladimir Putin will sign agreements on Friday to take over 4 Ukrainian regions, the Kremlin said, after votes widely denounced as a sham. Now let's go back real quick. Sure, we're going to close out with this, because this is prophecy being played out right before our face. This is Ezekiel 38:4, and I will turn back and put hooks in thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thy armies. Mother Russia is being collected back together. If you know the history of Russia, it used to be the USSR prior to 89-90, when President Reagan and Gorbachev had this deal, set in place, and the formerly known USSR was dissolved into many countries, and Russia as being the main one, but all the surrounding ones like Ukraine, Georgia, Czechoslovakia, Kiev, all of these other, these were formerly the USSR before, prior to 1990. So we're watching prophecy. You follow? We're seeing prophecy being played out. The word of the Most High, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, is always true, never lacking. It is what it is. Now let's read Ezekiel 38:4. And I will turn back thee and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thy army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sort of armor, even a great company with bucklers, shields, all of them handling swords. We're watching prophecy being played out. I'll have more on this, Lord willing, as I delve into my videos. Lord willing, it was edifying. It went on a little longer than what I wanted it to be, but through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, I wanted to show that those people that occupy the great northern land are not the Japhetic people who were originally there. But nevertheless, the Lord is going to use them. It's going to use them to exact prophets, to bring forth prophecy. Lord, when it was edifying, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High Yahweh, Shem Yahushua, double honors to the apostle, elders of Great Millstone. Shalom.